The city of Lumiere was sent to the sea 76 years ago, an event known as the Fracture. In the distance, on the main continent, is a monolith. Every year, the paintress waves her hand, painting a new number onto it, and all of that age are erased from existence in an event known as the Gamage. As Gustav, a member of Expedition 33, your goal is to stop the paintress from ever painting death again. To say more would spoil one of my favorite stories, not just in video games, but for any medium of entertainment. Sandfall Interactive's debut title is a triumph. Please, allow me to explain why in the as spoiler-free as possible review of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Again, this review will remain as spoiler-free as possible, for saying too much would ruin some amazing plot beats. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is available day one in Xbox Game Pass, so please let me guide you on why I fell in love with this title and think it's worth your time. Things begin in the city of Lumiere, which is out in the sea, as the prologue sees you controlling Gustav, an inventor who is 31 years old. The monolith off in the distance has counted down to 34 a year ago, and all those who are 33 years old are preparing to die. Gustav and dozens of others are part of Expedition 33, a series of so far fruitless attempts to stop the paintress by venturing to the mainland. Lumiere was cast into the sea in the year 100, when an event known as the Fracture split the land asunder. The monolith was raised with the number 100 being painted on it, and every year since, an expedition has gone out to try and stop her and failed. As that number changes, all of that age fade to dust and flower petals in an event known as the Gamage, which directly translates from French to English as the Scrub. This opening scene is full of heartbreak, as everyone who is now 33 years old is preparing to die. In this world, the thought of falling in love, having children, or planning ahead in any way is seen as hopeless, and it is beautifully written. While you mainly focus on controlling Gustav, there is a main cast of 5 characters throughout the game. You have Maëlle, who is Gustav's ward and is an expert fencer. She is the heart of the team. Sael is a teacher who uses a mix of gambit-style card attacks and a double-sided scythe. Lune is a scholar, mixing fire, ice, lightning, and earth magic. And finally, you'll meet Monoko, an interesting creature native to the main continent who can transform into enemies and use their abilities. As you progress throughout the title, you'll come across other characters like Verso, a mysterious one who has an expedition uniform and a white streak in his hair. There are many more, but talking about most would venture really heavily into spoiler territory, so I'll skirt around it as best I can throughout. Expedition 33 is also a rarity, as it is a turn-based RPG. As the prologue ends, you'll take control of Gustav and slowly form your party. Clair Obscur is played from a third-person perspective, featuring light platforming and lots of turn-based combat. As you explore areas, you'll see enemies standing around. If they touch you, they'll start first in combat. If you use the right bumper and blast them with some chroma, which is a magical substance that makes up everything in the world, you will attack first. Combat is your standard speed, stat-based turn system from the JRPGs of yore. This being a French-made game, the RPG moniker suits things best. Every turn in Expedition 33 is active, whether on offense or defense by default. As you choose various abilities, they'll each require 1, 2, or even 3 presses of the A button to time things. Perfect timing gives you a small benefit, and missing the input at all can lead to some negative outcomes. You can turn this off in the accessibility settings if you prefer and just have it always be successful. Defense is a lot more complicated, with multiple buttons being used to fend off attacks. You have the right bumper, which is used for parrying, B for dodging, the right trigger, which is a late game gradient parry for enemy super moves, and the A button to jump to dodge larger ground wave-based hits. All of these work on various degrees of tight timing windows, and the game's difficulty modes loosen or toughen those requirements. I played through on normal, and the game could be pretty damned hard at times. Learning the timing for your attacks is easy enough, but timing out all of the various enemy moves can be a lot to remember. To counter this, the game's various areas tend to have the same 2 to 5 enemies to keep the learning and memorization at more manageable levels as you progress. Most enemies have 2 basic attacks, with tougher variants and bosses upping it to 4 or 5 different attack patterns that you will have to learn. Parries always earn you attack points, AP, and are key to progressing throughout the game. It can lead to some early frustration, though you can change the difficulty at any time if you're feeling overwhelmed or just not up to the constant combat. There is a lot of it interspersed with some very light exploration in between. That exploration is generally focused on 2 paths. One brings you to the goal, and the other will help you find various items that power up your character or let you buy cosmetics from the game's various vendors. The game's creators are obvious in their adoration of the classic JRPG, using many of the genre's best tropes to guide players through its incredible story. Some enemies also have weak spots, which are pretty darn obvious, and you can use your AP to one at a time shoot them for extra damage and benefits. That AP system is everything, as you start with a single move per turn, and each action is dictated by an AP cost. You can do a basic attack for free, use items like healing tints, or use an ability that has that associated AP cost. Your skills, Pictos, Luminas, and more can earn you second attacks, gain back extra AP, and a whole heck of a variety of different things. While the game's combat is highly repetitive by design, it is greatly influenced by your gear choices. Skill choices, Pictos, and Lumina are key to crafting the most ass-kickingest group as possible. Every fight in the game earns you experience points. Those points give you 3 stats per level up, and your stats are classics like Strength, which lets you do more damage, or Agility, which dictates how quickly you get a move in combat. Anyone that's ever played any RPG before will feel right at home. As you level, you'll also get skill points, which each character can use to unlock their abilities. You can have 6 abilities active at any time and change them whenever you want from the pause menu when not in combat. Finding the right mix of skills to complement each other was key to advancing the game on normal difficulty. I ended up having a few builds, one focused on fire and the other on marking enemies. Enemies can be weak to certain elements, so I couldn't always rely on fire, as sometimes they were very strong against it, but everyone was weak to being marked for extra damage, and there are dozens of different team builds you can go for with all the various interconnected systems. The Pictos are various passive buffs, of which you can also have 6 equipped per character. They'll offer up bonuses like 20% more crit damage to burning characters, or gain 1 AP at the start of every turn. Each of them can be leveled up to be available as a Lumina as well after 4 successful fights while equipped. Luminas are the Picto buffs being available to every other member of your party now that you have leveled it up. To equip those, you'll need to level characters and feed them an upgrade material which will gain them Lumina points. By the end of the game, I had over 100 points per character, which allowed me to equip nearly every Picto I had found on every character. Depending on the strength of said Picto, they will have an associated cost, with some being 1, others 3 and 5, and upwards of 20 or more. It's a really deep system that gave constant carrot-on-a-stick appeal that games need to keep people engaged. Finally, you have cosmetics, which can be found in the game through various activities or purchased from vendors for chroma. Chroma is just found on the ground as a glowing white mass, and I found far more than I could ever spend, which was nice. Certain activities on the game's various beaches also give you things like bathing suits, and fights against mimes get you the baguette outfits. There's a good mix of silly and serious throughout everything in Expedition 33. It is made by a smaller team and uses Unreal Engine 5. I played the first half of the game on Xbox Series X in performance mode, and it looked and ran fine. It wasn't as stunning as some of the early footage we saw, but I found that 60 FPS responsiveness to be necessary for combat, so I did give up on the far better looking quality mode while on console. Because in that mode, it not only looked as good as the early footage, routinely it looked better. But after moving to PC, because I have a really good one so why not, the game went from being pretty to gorgeous. If it wasn't such a timing-focused experience, I would really suggest quality mode on console. It might have just been in my head, but I had a far harder time with parries and dodges in quality compared to performance. I had things on Ultra for the most part over on PC, but I did have to turn that down there as well in the final few areas as I started experiencing stutters that made it pretty hard to avoid damage. Lowering from Ultra to High fixed things on my 5800X and 7900 XTX AMD rig. Also, Expedition 33 is Play Anywhere and on Game Pass, so hopping between versions was easy peasy mac and cheesy. I fell through the world one time as the only bug I had, but in a really nice twist, the game immediately reset my character onto the ground only a few seconds into my descent. It's good that the game is decently polished as Sandfall shoots for the stars with where this one goes. The art style only gets wilder the deeper you get into the game. The scope and scale is far bigger than a team of this size has any right to pull off this well. And again, no spoilers, but things continue to feel inventive throughout. The premise and good looks sold me on wanting to play this game. Once I was in it, seeing just how much more inventive and over the top than I could have ever imagined it being, I fell in love. The graphics served the story, which is served by one of my favorite game soundtracks ever. Now, with all the gushing I've done around the game's combat and visuals, I have to return to its biggest strength. The story as it is told through amazing writing, voice acting, and music. Clair Obscur wears its inspiration on its sleeves. And sure, the systems come from the greats in the JRPG space, but the story is a mix of Fast and Furious, because it's all about family, Attack on Titan with its crazy world-bending powers, and so many more of my favorites in anime and beyond. Throughout this whole experience, I've really needed people to talk to about this game, because there were multiple moments that just had my jaw on the floor, and the number of times I said, "This game is amazing," was something I lost count of over its second half. The story both did and didn't go where I thought it was going to. Seeds planted early on paid off in ways I couldn't have dreamed of, and the excellent writing helped feed an all-timer of a voice cast. You've got Charlie Cox of Stardust and Daredevil fame voicing Gustav, bringing humor and wit. Jennifer English is the game's soul as Mael, who is Gustav's young ward. Voicing someone so young she sounded like a teenager who is tired of her life on the mainland, wanting to escape the continent to try and make something of what time she has left. CL, as voiced by Shayla Nix, brings a mix of pain and hope to the team. Lune, voiced by Kirsty Ryder, brings an earnest thirst for knowledge as the scion of parents long lost to a previous edition. Finally on the team you have Minoko, as voiced by Richard Keeble, who is hilariously stoic, given some of the funniest lines in the game that had me laughing out loud as they caught me off guard. And it's really hard to say much about Ben Starr's Verso or Andy Serkis's Renoir. They are both amazing throughout their time in the game, with the key parts of the mystery being tied to each of their appearances that had me questioning what was going on. And as you talk to each of the main crew in your camp, you'll build up relationship with them, unlocking new abilities like gradient attacks, which are really cool super moves, and side missions. It's an all-star voice cast that takes excellent source material and gives it everything they could, supporting an unbelievably amazing soundtrack. Coming from Lorient Testard, it bounces between classical piano melodies, high-paced string pieces, and ripping guitar solos. They elevate every moment, popping off from the start and never relenting through the end. Boss fights get unique tracks full of new instruments and melodies that all cohesively still feel like one product. It's on a Final Fantasy level for me, which is the highest praise I can offer to any video game. The devs said you can expect roughly 30 hours for a playthrough that focuses on the story, and up to 60 if you want to go and do and see everything, and I believe it. I am very fast at video games, playing them for a living now. I went to every area I could find and did everything I wanted to for as long as I wanted, and ended up around 40 hours, loving pretty much every moment of it. My only complaint, outside of some of the performance issues making combat a little annoying, were the lack of clear enemy levels. I would occasionally go off the beaten path and find an enemy clearly meant for much later on, but there was no visual indicator to let me know it. Dying means a quick reload to your last autosave, but still, some clear, you are not going to be able to hurt this guy and he can one-shot you indicator would have been nice. Wrapping things up, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is an inventive, beautiful experience like few others. Being the debut title from a studio and a new IP, it is an incredible achievement. Go in with as little knowledge of the story as possible, and whether you download this or Game Pass or plan to buy it, you should experience this. If you're anything like me, you'll be full of wonder and tears as you fight to stop the paintress from ever painting death again. Tomorrow comes.